Michael, we are live for this beautiful Friday. How are you?
We are, and it was a beautiful Friday. Good morning. How is everybody doing today?
I'm doing great. What about you, Michael?
I am super duper. I want to welcome everybody back to AGTP Daily. We go live every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern time to discuss the most important tech stories, tech events, tech everything in the United States of America. Today is Friday, the 26th of June. I'm looking at the calendar, 2026. Let's get right to this stuff, Martin. I want to talk about a bunch of things tonight. There's a lot going on in the news. Is OpenAI delaying its IPO, as we kind of hinted last night?
We talked about that for like an hour last
For
night.
like
We
an hour
said,
last night. We were like,
we
would they do it,
said,
and why would they do it in
w-
2027? And in a
yeah.
related story, Martin, the US
Mhm.
government is delaying or asking OpenAI to kind of slow their roll when they roll this thing out for ChatGPT 5.6. We'll talk about that too. Apple is skipping its M6 Pro to focus on AI chips, which I thought
Yeah.
was pretty interesting. And if we can get to it, Patronus AI announces a $50 million Series B. I feel like I'm talking about something from the 1990s because the numbers are small, but what Patronus is doing is actually really interesting, and people should know about it because I think it's indicative of a whole bunch of other interesting things that are going on in the market. Okay, let's talk about OpenAI delaying its IPO to 2027.
Let's do
So,
that, Michael.
do we want to talk about what we talked about last night first? Like,
So,
do you know
so
what I
for,
mean?
I,
Sorry, go
I,
ahead.
I think first of all, I give the fact of like what happened today, right? And then we can discuss about what we said yesterday.
But do you want to talk about the U.S. government delay thing or no?
No, no. First of all, the delay of the IPO to 2027.
So the New York Times, but you're looking at the Reuters article, yeah?
Yes, 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 yes. That's the Reuters
So
article that reports New York Times.
give me 1 second.
Sure.
So let's go through this. The New York Times is reporting that OpenAI is leaning toward waiting until next year for its IPO. And why would they, first of all, why would they report this? How would they get this news? And second of all, like, why would OpenAI do this?
Mm.
So, we've already said this. They're targeting a value of up to $1 trillion. And they've said that the chief financial officer said they're aiming for a 2027 listing, when up until now, all the rumors were saying that they were going to do it in 2026, and particularly with the closeness. And we should look at this pricing too, Martin. Let me do what I'd love to do. SPCX, real-time stock
SPCS.
price. It traded below 150 today.
149.
Yeah, what is that price? 149.53. It's now 152.88. I still think it's going to have another down day. Anyway, so let's talk about OpenAI. Their advisors, I think they were listening. I think their advisors were you and me, actually, if you want to be fair.
We listened to the
But
episode last
apparently their
night.
advisors presented the company executive with the option of waiting until 2027. And this article, Martin, I want to talk about this too. It says to go public with a $1 trillion valuation. Now, we made the case or lower the target valuation for a quicker listing. And Sam Altman, of course, agrees with Michael Waitze and Martin Runford that any change to the $1 trillion valuation was a non-starter.
Yeah. I mean,
Now,
let's
I would say, and again, I would say the same way you and I have been saying for the last week. I think anything below 1.25 or 1.5 trillion is going to be a non-starter.
Yes. Yeah. I think so too.
But don't you? Because again, none of the people that put money in the last round are going to make any money. Really, not enough money
Yeah.
for putting in the size and the amount of money that they put in.
Yes. So that's why, right? Like that's really why the $130 billion last round, right? That they raised at $965 billion valuation. Those guys that put money back in February, they want to return, right? And maybe they were part of that. That was a promise to actually IPO soon and make quick money, right? And
also,
if that was the case, they can't IPO below 1.2, 1.3, maybe 1.5 even.
But also, in my head, because they raise so much money, I always feel like their revenues must be super high. Do you know what I mean? But in 2025, the revenue, and I know that was last year, but the revenue was only $13 billion.
Okay.
And it was $3.7 billion in 2024. Okay. And the way I look at it, I was like, oh my God, they must be losing a ton of money. That's why they raised so much money. But their total expenditures in 2026, I believe, were $34 billion, $19 billion in research development, and $6 billion in sales. And then an operating loss of $21 billion and a net loss to shareholders of roughly 39. Like the numbers are big, but they're not that big. It's weird these days that those numbers don't seem that big.
Still like 39 billion loss, you say, in 2026?
Yeah, but they raised $122 billion. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah, but just give them like 2 years, 3 years of runway, huh?
yeah. Well, it doesn't because they say they're going to invest $100 billion, $125 billion a year over the next 4 years, right?
Yes.
Actually, $150 billion, but still. But here's the other interesting thing, Mark. Hey, Martin, and I like these like second order and third order impacts. When this shift in this timeline was announced, shares of SoftBank went down. The guy who said like even Jesus was misunderstood.
This quote is insane.
I love these guys. They're such megalomaniacs, right?
Exactly.
That they compare themselves to they don't compare themselves to other CEOs. They compare themselves to Jesus. Can I say
even Jesus was misunderstood? I love that quote.
I can't say the thing that's in my mind.
No, don't say it.
But I won't say it.
But yeah, no, yeah.
The level of megalomania. Anyway, the SoftBank stock went down 12 to 14% after that report.
So why did it go down?
Because they're one of the biggest investors in OpenAI, and they invested in the latest round as well. And because remember I did a whole segment on SoftBank on ATP Insights. I think it was yesterday. Yesterday. It had to be Thursday. About how he was betting the whole company, and he does this all the time, on building a complete AI software stack and hardware stack. And their biggest pillar in the model space is OpenAI. And they were the expectation was that they'd be able to monetize their investment in OpenAI in 2026, and that was driving the stock price.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, a lot going on. A lot of little moving pieces all over the place.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting news. Like, first of all, we discussed this yesterday, that it was probably a better move for OpenAI to actually wait next year, because with all the announcement that they were doing with the chip side and the data centers and all of this thing, they actually had a chance to be much bigger and like have much more infrastructure and basically do what SpaceX did, right? Like, which is create a huge infrastructure to really sell a big story, right? And right now, the only story that OpenAI can sell is people use AI, our models are the best. But in a couple of months, if they start saying we have chips now, we have data centers, we have this, we have that, that can be a much, much, much bigger story for when the IPO, right? So I think this is like the reason why yesterday we were like, you know what, maybe they should wait a little bit. But now the fact that they believe, after talking to the banks like Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs, that they may not be able to get the price that they want, is actually really interesting, because maybe like Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs, they went to the investors, they did the roadshow, and everybody told them like, I'm okay to buy, but at 500, 700, 800, and they just couldn't get to 1.3. And so Sam was like, in this case, that sucks, but we don't do it.
Exactly. But also I think and we talked about this too, the performance of SpaceX since its IPO, while it's up a lot from actually, to be fair, it's not even up that much anymore, right? Was it up 135 to 152 is 17, it's up what, 20%?
Yeah.
That's not a lot on a really high profile IPO. But again, we predicted this.
Yeah.
Before the IPO, before the thing went public, we said it was going to spike on the day that it was issued, because the people that wanted to participate in the IPO that couldn't were going to buy some stock.
Or Michael, this is just a signal that Anthropic has just hunted them, and they are doing the roadshow right now. Everybody's already committed to Anthropic. Anthropic is going to IPO super soon, and there's just not more money for OpenAI left.
Right. So to be fair, Martin, I don't think the market thinks, and I don't think you're suggesting this either, that there's just one reason. It's a multitude of reasons. And I think, the competition between OpenAI and Anthropic is real. And if Dario Amodei thinks he can screw the OpenAI, IPO by issuing first, he'll definitely do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? But also, like, as we say, like, Anthropic, imagine Anthropic doing the same thing, delaying its IPO. This would be such a massive risk. They can't do that. Like really, I don't see a world where Anthropic say we IPO next year. It's so risky. All of their money comes from token sales, and we don't know how long this is going to last. But it's disappearing. Where OpenAI seems to be involved into much more stuff. Yeah, I think Anthropic would never do that because they can't. They have to IPO. I see a world where they are pressuring everybody to actually get as much money as they can, and OpenAI has a chance to do it next year bigger and better. So it makes sense to me. I think it makes complete sense.
So I'm going to make another prediction,
Okay.
actually, although this is not investment advice for anybody.
Mhm.
So this podcast is not about giving investment advice, and I'm not registered or licensed anywhere to give investment advice for anything. But here's what I think.
Yeah, tell me.
The market's going to be in way worse shape next year if Sam Altman
Yeah.
wants to delay this IPO, and they run the risk of doing a $500 billion IPO, or
Yeah.
frankly, of doing no IPO. And there's a bigger risk, Martin. We talked about this a little bit last night, but I want to say it explicitly today, and that is that by the time they're ready to IPO, even if it is next year, they run the real risk, right, that they can't raise money anymore.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's a really, really good point. Yeah, actually, yeah, like
Because remember, even sorry to interrupt you, but even their CFO, remember last year, which
Yeah.
was taking a lot of flack, because she was like, "I don't know how we're going to fund all this crap." Right? Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's true. It's true. And it's even more true for Anthropic, right? Like Anthropic could IPO at 1.5 trillion and go down to 500 billion in 1 year, right? Like they could go down that much.
Yeah.
And if they do, that's not going to be a good context for OpenAI to IPO, right?
So
If
that's my
something
point,
like
though,
this
right?
happens,
So if SpaceX keeps going down, if Anthropic issues does their IPO, and that also goes down any percentage, really.
Yes, exactly. If it doesn't go up, yeah, no, it's a weird time. It's a really, really weird time. If they really believe in themselves, OpenAI it would be like, okay, let's push it to 2027, but it's risky. It's really, really risky because, I mean, the safest bet is to have non-OpenAI and non-Anthropic. But is it really safest? Because SpaceX is gonna tank, and so we're gonna be like in a weird moment anyway because of SpaceX, except if the story for SpaceX is slightly different because they have infrastructure, which OpenAI, like neither OpenAI and Anthropic have. Like, do you agree that SpaceX is a much stronger business than OpenAI and Anthropic? Or not?
Much is doing a lot of heavy lifting here.
Okay.
And the reason why is because what else? Because what else does it have? So the data center stuff is good, right? But think about it. Who's their biggest external contract with?
They have Anthropic, Google.
Yeah, but so XAI doesn't generate enough revenue to
zero.
justify using Colossus 1 and 2 at scale. Like they don't have enough revenue to or enough necessity for compute to run those two huge data centers. But let's just say this whole thing plays out in a way that we think it might, and that is, let's say the tokenization stuff like goes down.
Yeah.
Right, so people aren't paying for tokens anymore. Let's say for some reason that the market for artificial intelligence stocks goes down, which means that OpenAI can't raise as much money anymore or any money anymore. Well, then their need for compute is going to go down as well. And if their need for compute goes down, maybe they'll just, and same thing for Anthropic. So maybe Anthropic is just like, well, we signed that contract, but we can't afford it anymore. Do you know what I mean? So space, and all we need is one SpaceX rocket
to
blow up before, as it's lifting off, and then the whole game is over. So does it have a stronger business? I mean, if they're firing on all cylinders, for sure, but they have some pretty weak cylinders over there at SpaceX.
So I would say on the model side, the acquisition of Cursor can help a little bit in the sense that Cursor already run on open source Chinese models. So they already are going to implement it. They are already going to deploy this at scale. And in case Anthropic and OpenAI go sideways, they can just use the open source models, and that should give them an exit, at least on the compute side, because the demand for AI is not going to go down. We are not going to stop using AI tomorrow, right? So these clients, these people who want to use it, these people who need to use AI, actually, I would say at this point, let's 6 months after implementing AI agents, we can't go back, right? So right now we are at the point where we need to use AI, and the open source models get good enough, right? And maybe actually get great as well, right? So
Yep.
I really see like the massive threat to all of that, Michael. It's a $20 per month offering to access one of the Chinese open source models, unlimited. If that happens, everybody is going to have a massive problem. Like if that happens before Anthropic and OpenAI are ready to respond with a similar offer, this is going to be a massive problem. And this is going to come from the cloud provider being able to host the Chinese model and sell it at $20 per month. A
Yeah,
Chinese
and
model or
let's
another
just say
model.
this, Martin, as well.
Yeah.
Let's just say this as well. Like the people to whom we've spoken,
Yeah.
CEOs
Yeah.
of big
This,
companies in the
they
United
say
States,
that.
but also CEOs of startup companies or well-funded companies have also said, yeah, and Microsoft themselves have already said,
DeepSeek. Yeah.
yeah, we're going to use DeepSeek, so no different, right? But the point is that like people are already saying the pricing methodology and the pricing mechanism for token usage is wrong.
Everybody say that. Yeah.
Everybody says it, and they also say existentially. The guy last night from what was the name of the company for the guy last night that we had on AGTP Daily?
Sedai.
Yeah, from SEDI. That guy was like, sure, we've already set up our business so that we can run, if we need to, we can run on some of these open source Chinese models. So he says, I think over time, that's what everybody's going to do.
Exactly.
Which
That's what.
means,
Yeah.
which means that OpenAI is going to have to open source their model.
They both will have, right? Like
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see. I mean, if we are all right here, right? Like, which means the Chinese model gets. I mean, let's not call them the Chinese model. Let's call them the open source model, okay? Because that's really the real impact here, right? Like as of
it's a better
today,
thing to say. Yeah.
as of today, the best open source model are Chinese, right? But that can change, right? And the way that this can change is if Anthropic or OpenAI actually decide to open source their models. But if this happens and they start to open source their models, and now we have a market of a lot of solutions that can be accessed through the cloud, that can be accessed natively on your machine, it's going to change everything, right? And Montana, there's so much people, so much companies, so much large companies who are investing a lot of money into making this work, whether it's the chips, whether it's Apple, whether it's AMD would be computers, whether it's all the Chinese company would believe into this future as well. Everybody is building towards that, right? There's only Anthropic who just say we are going to keep selling tokens. Even OpenAI, I think, because they launch their chip. They stopped doing open source because I think they try to profit max, but I think it's still somewhere in their mind that it may actually be a good idea to go back to that. But yeah, I think that the real threat here is a $20 per month offer on GoDaddy to access right now DeepSeek, because that's the best, or ZAI, like the ZGLM 5.2, which apparently is amazing, unlimited for $20 per month. If that happens, this is changing the entire game, and we are not that far. We are not that far for something like this to happen.
No, we're not. Can we also add in the second topic that we put out there today? Because I think that's going to impact this IPO as well. Is it okay to talk about that now?
Let's segue to that. Perfect.
Okay. And again, I don't want to get away from the other things we were talking about, but I want to put this in the mix because I do think people who are listening to this and are watching this live will think like, why aren't they talking about this thing? Right. So there's a story out there that says the U.S. government is delaying or slowing down the release of ChatGPT 5.6 for the same reason, right, that they slowed the release of Mythos and Fable 5.
Yeah.
It's just too dangerous. Right. So what do you think is going on here?
What do I think? It's marketing.
Yeah. What do you think?
I don't believe it at all. Zero.
but even if you don't believe it,
yeah.
The point is that it's out there and it's going to have because we have to always remember, Martin, right, that you and I and the people that are, and particularly some of the people that are also listening and watching the show, we're in a little bit of a bubble, right?
We are definitely. Yeah.
So we have we're like, we're not like low information voters here. We're very high information. But do you think everybody in the world knows that, like, the U.S.
No.
government's delaying or slowing down the release of Chat GPT 5.6? Like, just saying it out loud.
That's why it's marketing. That's why it works. And that's why they do it. Because most of the people don't have the same information. Most of the people just read the headline and say, oh, it's too dangerous to release, which means it's too strong. So which means we got to a point where OpenAI is amazing as well. Just like Anthropic, they are doing the exact same thing, right? Like, it's absolutely insane. The last 3 months, every time one of them does something, the exact same thing happens to the other one, like within 2 weeks.
Right.
It is like repeat and repeat and repeat that has happened in the last 3 months, right? So Fable gets banned, or do they ban it themselves? Like, really, like, let's not be naive, right? Like, on a roadshow to IPO, it's really, really good that your model is too dangerous, right? It's actually really, really great from a marketing standpoint. And then OpenAI does the exact same thing, right? So
It is, but from a leverage standpoint, because think about it, you actually mentioned this earlier. The investment bankers are going around right now because they wanted to do this IPO in 2026. Let's say they want to do it in the third or fourth quarter. Third quarter is literally like a couple of months away.
yeah,
So fourth quarter is probably like 5 months away. But let's presume that they wanted to do this IPO like in the next 6 months, whatever. You know the way this works. It's a push and pull, right? So obviously OpenAI wants to sell their shares at the highest possible price, and so do the existing investors want them to sell it at the highest
Yes.
possible price.
Yeah,
But the IPO people are out there going, I don't know, maybe 750. Could be six. We're not really sure what we want to pay for this, but it's so. I mean, they look the bankers in the eye and go, "It's kind of overvalued, don't you think?" Oh, and did I hear this correctly? Maybe I didn't hear it correctly, but did I hear this correct? This is what's happening in these meetings, right? And the guys go, "Huh? Did the U.S. government say they had to slow down the release of their next model?" So what does that mean? That's bad news, right? Can you see this in a meeting, though? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because now there's even uncertainty around how we are actually going to be able to release our own models. What is going to be from now on, right? Like,
because if 5.6 is too dangerous and it needs the approval of the U.S. government to roll it out to like a larger audience, what is 5.7 going to be like? Not a problem at all.
Yeah. And now we need to deal with a government who is actually going to regulate our product, and now we have even less visibility about what's going on, right? Like, there's another player to the table. So you're right.
And again, for Anthropic, like that's the only product they have.
Yeah, and for Anthropic, that's the only chance we have. Yep. So also, do you think this is creating the environment to ban the Chinese models? Because if GPT 5.6 and Fable is too strong, what about GLM 5.2? All right, it's double dangerous.
Well, it's dangerous for a bunch of other reasons. Those models have not yet caught. They're close. They're super close, but they've not yet caught up to Mythos 5 nor to ChatGPT 5.6.
I would say we really have no idea about that. In terms of
sure.
usage.
But again, if it's just marketing and if it's just kind of announcements, the announcements
Yeah.
around them are, I can see them in the rearview mirror, like it's getting close, but they're not there yet. So
Yes.
are we at the point where they're going to get banned? I don't know. You can't buy a BYD in America.
And a Huawei phone as well. That would be the third time. It's not the first.
The Huawei phone I kind of understand because it's got high power chips in it, and Huawei also makes the switching devices that run the phone. So the idea would be like that they put some malware in there that would intercept phone calls, and like I get that at some level.
Well, that's the only country in the world where it's banned, by the way.
The only country in the world that what?
Where it's banned. Like, you can buy a Huawei phone in France. No problem. So, and same for the way.
Please don't make me comment on the U.S. government, please.
Yes, that's right. But let's just say, like, from a tech angle, they've done that with the phone. They've done that with the BYDs. I mean, to me, it's also like set the stage to actually do the same thing for all the models. The only big difference here, Michael, and I don't know how they're gonna go around that, and maybe that's why the Chinese are doing that, is because the models are open source. You can actually check what's going on. Like, it's like you have a car where they put all the pieces on the ground. Check, basically, right? And so, which means that if the US government say, hey, there may be a backdoor in GLM 5.2, someone can just check and see that there is none. So it's going to be much, much, much harder to ban something where you can actually see that there is no problem.
But how hard is it to ban? In other words, the U.S. government can tell. Sorry, let me get this fully thought out, right? But the U.S. government can tell Anthropic,
Mhm.
to block the URL or just to take the model down. So you
Yes, yes,
simply
yes, yes.
can't access it.
Yeah.
But what they can't do is they can't tell any of the Chinese open source companies to take their models down. So how do you
Outside of, yeah,
ban it?
I have
Yeah,
no idea.
but again, how do you ban it?
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of stuff that's banned in China as well, but you can't
Mhm.
tell me that people aren't installing VPNs
Yeah.
and spoofing IP addresses and then getting access to Gmail. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
So
mhm.
if people really want to use this, there are technological ways to get around
Yeah.
banning, I think, whatever that means. Sure, it's not a great business model to have that go down, but I mean,
It's like going to Mexico to buy BYD, right? Like if you
might be
really
one idea
want
just like
to,
driving it around Texas.
exactly. If you really want to, you have a solution. But yeah, I don't know. I really don't know, and I think it's much more challenging than banning BYD because like the BYD needs to arrive at a port in a
That's my
massive
point. It's a physical
container,
thing.
right?
You can
So
see it. It's got
it's
to get
going,
taxed. It's
yeah,
got to get license plates.
yeah, it's
That's my
doing.
point.
It must be much, much more simpler to ban something like that. But now, and maybe that's the play from the Chinese that there's zero major Chinese company that is not doing open source. Zero. Like, have you ever wonder why? I think that's why, because it's going to be way harder to ban something that's open source. Way harder. And it's smart. It's super smart. Like, really, like, if you don't want if you want the US to have a really hard time to ban you, or even not be capable of doing it, you just open source everything, and now it's much harder. And plus you bring a solution on the market that's much cheaper, even free, if you can host it yourself. I mean, from a business standpoint, it's a massive threat. It's a massive threat.
Yeah, and I just look, and because everyone to whom we've spoken in the US market has
Mm.
said that they're going to use these open source models,
Yes,
that's just going to accelerate, particularly if
exactly.
like you said, Chat GPT 5.6 is being delayed or rolled out
Mhm.
more slowly and the government has some kind of impact. And again, just to get back to the IPO thing we were talking about, you can see those, I was doing it a little bit sarcastically, but you can see those conversations happening in these roadshow meetings, right? Because that's where these other guys get leveraged. That's where the
Mhm.
buyers get leveraged. Like, look, that last round was a little bit insane. I mean, everybody said so, right? $122 billion, $965 billion valuation. That's ridiculous, right? And I'm not going to, and you've never been in any of these meetings, Martin, but like they can get really aggressive. I can just see them going like, look, I'm not going to pay so the last round's investors can make money and then
Mhm.
watch that stock get killed in the stock market the same way um, SpaceX did. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's a real conversation that people are going to have. Like I'm not retarded, man. I can see the market. I saw what happened there. Now you want me to fund
Yeah.
the
And
guys, you want me to pay those guys money so that I can buy a stock that's going to drift down for the next 6 months? I'm
and
not
every
involved.
and
The only play,
every
and it's going to drift to 750. So let's just do it at 750. Sorry,
and
go ahead.
every day that passes and SpaceX slow down, this conversation gets even more heated, right? It gets even stronger
Yeah,
every
yeah.
day.
But to be fair, even if it doesn't go down any more than it already has,
Hmm.
even if it just stays here, it's still like, why am I funding
Yeah.
the profits of some guy who had special treatment to get in at the last round and you didn't let me in?
Mm-hmm.
Like these things can get super heated, man.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. No, you're right. I think it's a really weird time for OpenAI and Anthropic right now, right? It's really weird to them. Like if they stay private, they have so much risk right now on the market and they may not be able to raise more money. If they go public, they may not be able to be public at the price that they want, right? Maybe the only possibility is that Anthropic IPOs really quickly, 1 point something, 1.3, 1.5, 1.7, maybe. I have no idea like how high they can get. They sell 99.9% of the company.
Yeah, they're never going to do that, right? Because the Amadeus are going to want to hold on to some, if they're real believers, right?
I mean, if you enter at 1.5, 1.7 with everything we've said right now on the state of the market,
Well, I think they'd
uh,
be silly not to sell at least some of their stock, right? Because they're billionaires for sure.
exactly,
What are we doing?
exactly. Yeah, I think like there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scene right now.
But can I also say this?
Yeah.
Like
Hmm. Hmm.
the first company that IPOs and that goes into an index with no profit
Hmm.
is, in my mind, a bad sign for the next company that wants to go with no profit, that's not going to go into an index, and that it's already told you that its capex spending for the next few years is just going to be monstrous.
Yeah.
And now you're telling me again, as an investor, you're saying like, I understand that we're pricing in the future. And to be fair, Martin, I wrote an entire article about this today,
True.
which everybody can see on either on LinkedIn or on X, but a whole article about saying like, it's not the case that AI is like some kind of fad. It's not the case that it's fake. It's just the case that it's way overpriced right now. This is, again, my opinion. It's not investment advice. But the point is that like the second company that says, oh yeah, we're going to go public and we have no pathway to profitability that we understand or that we can show to you. We're already losing a ton of money. We expect to invest more money next year. And we think that our revenue in the token space could go down, could be flat, or could go to zero because of the way the pricing is happening. Oh, and everybody's going to start to use open source models. Please buy our stock.
Exactly. That's the real story here.
You know what I mean?
And plus, SpaceX is losing 3% every day. So the more you wait, and the more the more it's going down. So please buy right now.
I'm just saying.
No, yeah, the story like is absolutely terrible right now, right? Once again, like, we have more information than a lot of people, because I think our biggest advantage is that we talk to a lot of people who are actually using AI and implementing AI in their company. And I was shocked in the last few weeks by how many people were telling us that they already use open source models, right? So it's not like, you know, at first I thought it was something that were going to happen because the model were not good enough, or it was still expensive to host them and all of these things. But it's actually not the case already, right? And a lot of people are already thinking about money, which is not surprising at all to me, right? Like this idea of token matching was fun for 2 weeks, but for 99.9999999% of the businesses on Earth, it's not fun to do token matching at all. It's way too expensive. And SMEs, startups, and all the company between an SME and Facebook, for everybody in between, like they need to make money. They need to pay salary. They have employees. They need to eat. Like, you know, they need to generate profits. And so they care about expenses, and they can't token match forever, right? So that's why I think that really accelerated the adoption of this Chinese open source model. Once again, I don't like to say Chinese open source model, but
no, let's just say open source models.
Yeah,
but the other just the ones who dominate that space for now.
Yeah, they dominate. But I think the idea is that open source is getting more and more used, and so that's why I believe it may force OpenAI and Anthropic to open source as well, just to be able to compete with the market, right?
And look, you and I go back and forth on this. You have one view, I have another view, right? But your view is that, I believe, and just tell me if I'm wrong, because in a way I'm putting some words in your mouth, but you think that OpenAI is more diversified, so hence a better sort of risk return investment than Anthropic is, because Anthropic's revenue is very, very concentrated in it's kind of one or two products, yeah?
Maybe just one even.
Maybe one, but like a little bit, people are paying for some tokens just for the chat version of it. Then you're talking about Opus 4.8 or whatever, yeah? Or
then it's really like
the coding stuff.
The money they make from the API token cost, so basically just get usage-based pricing, right?
Yep.
And then they have a subscription as well. They tried to get rid of the subscription, they failed, right? And these really, really important signals, right? Like they either, and actually I met someone this afternoon, Michael. We had a chat. He was a Claude user, and he left for OpenAI because of the price.
Well, because of the potential for the price change, yeah.
Yeah, so it changed during this month, and between the moment that they say, hey, we're going to change the price on June 16, if I remember correctly. So he switched to using OpenAI before this date, because he was like, I just want to pay the subscription, right? So that's what, like, everything that we have said that people may do that, actually real people did it, right? For real. Yeah. And then when I told him, but actually no, they did not. Like, they did not change the price.
They didn't make that change.
Yeah, they didn't make the change, because exactly like way too many people, I think, were just like you going back to OpenAI. That's a terrible announcement.
Yeah.
And so they didn't make the change. And then you know what he told me?
I'm not going back.
Not great. I will go back, because he likes Claude. He likes the models. And so now he's very, maybe he will not go back because maybe now he made the switch and if it's working and now he has to change
Mm.
again and also, but what
Right.
he said to me was like, great, I can go back now. I'm super happy. But I think when you put everything together back to back for Anthropic, like they only make money from the API, they want to kick everybody from the subscription, which it failed. So they get to keep the subscription, but they lose money on the subscription, and they have compute problem, and they don't do chips, and they don't have their own data centers, and they need to API rate limit everybody because they don't have the proper compute. And I believe they need to make their own model less strong because they don't have enough compute. And I think that's what's happening right now. I mean, sorry for the language, but that's such bad. Like, really, like, it's really, really, really bad.
But
Like,
but I'm going to make the
mm,
counterpoint here because
what do you have?
you and I a little bit disagree on this.
Okay, tell me.
Let's just say that OpenAI. First of all, I think OpenAI's diversification is bad for them, not good for them. At least in the short to medium term.
That's the focus problem, right?
I just don't think they're focused on
Yeah.
the stuff that's going to make them money. And I think there's part of what they're doing feels to me like throwing some stuff against the wall and just seeing what sticks. Right. I don't think they're really disciplined in their management of the company. But I don't know that, but that's what it feels like to me, just based on the management that I've seen in thousands of other companies. And the other thing is, I don't feel like their ability to properly communicate what their strategy is very good, even though you and I joke about this, but they did just hire like a new CMO who we haven't really heard that much from. I feel like he's been on vacation since he started his job. But anyway, that's it.
Or he just said everybody to shut up. Really,
Yeah,
because
exactly. The other thing was
yeah.
STF here. Just please be quiet. Right. So that's not a good
Exactly.
strategy either. But on the other side, if they do go public, here's the thing that I think that people forget. It's not like you go public and then just forget about it. Like, yay, we did an IPO and then just move on and everything is just like be business as usual. Somebody has to manage now the stock and all the information around the stock. And now Sam Altman is going to be distracted by like, hey man, the stock's down 5%, it's down 7%, it's down 10%. I thought I was going to get rich. My lockup is 6 months from now. Like I can't sell until January, February next year. What's going on in the stock price? What are you going to do to manage the stock price higher? What are you going to do to make our product suite better? We have to shut down the phone thing because we can't afford to spend money on that anymore. Like all these things now, because it's a public company.
Yeah, you're
The
right.
man,
And the
the
employee,
whole
everybody knows how much money they have, basically. So
yeah,
no,
but
yeah,
also the necessity to manage at a much faster speed, potentially because of all the information dissemination that is necessary to run a public company. Because if you're private, you're like, yeah, we canceled the phone. We didn't tell anybody.
yeah. So I think the bet here is they will be able to go through that. I don't know how, but it's gonna be tough. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
but I
tough.
can't operate in the realm of I don't know how. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. I think they just say they close their eyes and they say, we are going to fight every fire. All of them at once, because we have no choice. Because that's the only way that we can do something with AI. That's the only way. And which is really, really funny because if Michael, everything that we just say is right, okay, let's just say like our analysis is good on the state of the market from a client perspective. So which means like
Yep.
all the open source model and all of that. Just think how hard Anthropic and OpenAI have made their own life so complicated to
Yeah.
search aiming at this $1 trillion IPOs valuation, maybe like higher IPOs, right?
Yeah.
They have made their own life so much harder because if they just built like the Chinese, right, which is something steady, something slower, but something good enough, and not lose too much money, but do something good and then build from there. Because like the one thing that always shocked me is that at the end of the day, the product is good, right? And we never talked about that. We never talked about the use
What
cases,
do you mean the Claude product and the
like the cloud.
ChatGPT product?
Yeah, and GPT 5.5, it's great models, right? Like you always see how good the Chinese are, the DeepSeek, the GLM, and all of that, and you never see how Claude is good, or what are the use cases, or what about the new use case for this industry that we never spoke about. The entire narrative is around something else, right? And I feel like they have made their life so hard for capital gain, really, right? Like they just want to make a lot of money on this thing, and it's put them into a pretty bad spot right now.
So can I make another point?
Tell me.
You want to know who runs a really robust business that's way better than the business that Anthropic runs, an OpenAI business and OpenAI's business, and blows SpaceX away?
Okay, Google, Microsoft, Amazon.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say Google though,
Yes.
because
Yes. Yes.
what's Amazon? You can't log into Amazon.com and say like you can't do like um sorry frontiermodel.amazon.com,
Mm,
but you can type in Gemini.google.com, and I've
mhm.
been testing it over the last week,
It's good. It's getting better.
and it cost me nothing on top of
Mhm,
what we already pay for Google Workspace.
mhm,
But
mhm.
it's really good. It's very well organized. The
Yeah.
background is black. I mean,
Mm.
you can't do that in ChatGPT.
And plus they have the data center. So if tomorrow, once
That's my
again,
point. They
they
already have
can
cloud.
launch,
So
yeah, they can launch the $100 per month offer to, I'd say, DeepSeek, like unlimited. Or they can do the same thing with OpenAI, that open source GPT 5.6, for example, right? They just
yep.
open source it and then they sell it for $100 per month via a cloud offering, right? And now this would be a killer offer. This would be something crazy, and this
For
may
who?
happen
For ChatGPT, for OpenAI, you mean?
for no for Google
For
and for the
Google.
clients, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
because
yeah,
because now from a client we have a subscription which we like, which we understand, and we
yeah,
can
yeah.
access the great models through the route that we already understand because that's how we've been hosting
But
websites and
that's my
apps
point.
forever,
That's
right?
my point, right? Because
Exactly. Mm.
you made this comment that like the product for OpenAI and the product for Anthropic are really good.
Yeah, really good. Yeah.
But we're not talking about Gemini at all, and
Mm.
I don't know if Gemini has a code completion or like an automated agentic coding tool as well, but I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
And Google has always been really good at, and I said this a couple of days ago as well, at subsidizing whatever new business they have with their ad business, which is gigantic,
Mm, mhm, mhm.
right? And OpenAI doesn't have that yet. Anthropic says they're never going to have it. So to me, if I look at this, I wouldn't say that SpaceX's business is way more robust than OpenAI or Anthropic, but I will say that Google's is.
Yeah, Google for me, top three, Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. They are so strong right now. They are going to kill everybody, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Especially if the model become
you
commodity.
can't type copilot.microsoft.com, I don't think.
Yeah, but that doesn't really matter, I think, because if the model tomorrow become a commodity, then you can just access DeepSeek or whatever, or OpenAI, Open GPT 5.7 through Amazon.
Yep.
Money will be somewhere else. It will be in the services, it will be in the cloud offering, it will be maybe in the chips, right? If the money is not in the model, I don't think it really gives them a big advantage. The only massive advantage that Google has is the ecosystem and the integration of Gemini absolutely everywhere. And if on top of that they can make a good model, this is
Yeah.
really, really, really helpful, right?
So,
Because and now this is different. Yeah.
so type into your browser, Martin, if you have your browser open, copilot.microsoft.com, and tell me what you see.
Does it work? I have no idea.
I know exactly it does work, and it says to me, "Hi there, what should we dive into today?"
Oh, and we had no idea.
Easy to
Yes.
test and easy to check. So while I was
Yeah.
saying it,
Yeah. Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
you better know this because otherwise the chat's going to come after you.
Yep.
So you can, and that's the other thing too. What else does Microsoft have? They have the cloud. They have all the other
Exactly.
tools. They have
Same.
massive revenue through all their other products,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And like, let's be fair, Windows is not going open source,
No.
and people still pay monthly subscriptions on a SaaS basis for Microsoft Excel because building that on your own and then doing all the integrations that Excel has is not something you're going to rewrite using vibe coding.
No. 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 And the infrastructure side is just massive. It's just so complex. It's gonna be a different story. So that's why,
Right.
right? And Copilot, like just to be like to give all the information, Copilot is already a multi-model harness, I would say, because they use OpenAI, they use Anthropic
Yeah.
behind the hood, right? Like so, which means Copilot itself is not a model, right? Like they integrate the different
No. It's a service.
model. So which means they build the distribution, the top layer, and then they can plug in anything they want, including DeepSeek, right?
Mm-hmm.
Including something else, including whatever comes next, right? And so this is where it's really, really interesting. And that's why I say everybody is building towards not token sales, basically, right? Like they
Right.
are all building something different, something that give you access to better AI for cheaper, basically, And that's where the world is going. And Anthropic is only making money for token sales. That scares me for them. That really scares me for them.
I agree. And I want to give you some revenue numbers for Microsoft just so we can put everything into
Okay.
context. 2021, $168 billion, growing 17.5%.
Wow.
2022, $198 billion, growing 18%. 2023, 211, growing 6.9. 2024, 245, back in double digits, up 15.7%. And 2025, so last fiscal year, 281.7, up again 14.9%. So it's not like they're not growing, first of all. It's not like they don't have enough revenue. And sorry, their operating income, which means their profit for 2025 was $128 billion.
Wow. Okay. So we have tons of money to invest.
Operating income was up 17%. Actually, let's just call it operating income was $128.5 billion. My point is that like their AI business could go to zero.
That'd be fine.
Like the whole model could change and they'd still be fine.
Yeah.
Right. Their cloud business is over $75 billion a year.
And this is going to explode, Michael. Like I'm really bullish on the cloud because the cloud is model agnostic. And so they don't care about who wins, basically. They are going to be able to, like, the only threat to the cloud business is the closed source model. Okay, like if you can, I mean, if you need to pay OpenAI to access GPT 5.6, for example, then that goes to OpenAI money. But as soon as something is open source, the cloud provider hosts them themselves and then distribute through their platform.
Exactly.
So that's why like, they have such a massive incentive of making it work for themselves, right? That if you are Microsoft or you and actually maybe Microsoft, this is something that we didn't consider yet, but Microsoft and Amazon and Google, actually I don't remember for Google, but at least Microsoft and Amazon, they both invested a lot of money into Anthropic and OpenAI. So they are massive shareholders, right? So
at much lower prices.
At much lower prices. So if they have a vested interest into pushing the model open source, because then they can sell cloud offering, like they are going to push there. I mean, if I have the data center tomorrow, Michael, I want to sell GPT 5.5 open source. I want to build this subscription at $20 per month, all unlimited. I want to do that, right?
Yeah.
Because this is the killer offering. And if I can force them, because I am a shareholder, to actually do it, this makes a ton of sense. That's why I don't think it's gonna stay closed source. There's so many interest around doing it open source.
But also, Martin, they win either way. Because let's say Anthropic, let's just say in the most extreme case, right? Let's say their investment in Anthropic, whoever they are.
Yeah.
But altogether, their investments in Anthropic and in an OpenAI go down a lot. Well, then that's a bad sign for the business model of OpenAI and for Anthropic.
Yes. Yeah.
But where does all that revenue going to then go to?
The cloud provider.
It's going to go back to Microsoft. It's going to go back to Google. It's going to go back to Amazon. Not so much Amazon because they don't run their own models per se. But again, if the models become commoditized and the model's not going to make any money anyway, then it doesn't matter. But all the businesses that they run that are ancillary to running those models, the cloud, everything else, for Microsoft and for Google, definitely going to make way more money.
Exactly. And then they just take their hits, right? Okay. We invested, I don't know how much money in total, and then they're like, okay, we just write it off. And then we just focus on the future, right? And for them, they will survive. Like no problem at all. If OpenAI and Anthropic goes to zero tomorrow and they install DeepSeek and they sell DeepSeek through the cloud, everybody's happy. And to be fair, that's exactly what Nebius does, right? I think Nebius is a public company, if I'm not wrong. Nebius stock. I really wonder like how much they grew in the last year to date. Yes, Nebius, that's them. 160%. 1 year.
Right.
So it looks we don't have. Okay, they IPO'd. Okay, I don't want to say a mistake, but I don't have any data before March 6th. This year, actually. Did they IPO before? Nebius IPO date. Oh, no, okay, they have been here for a while. May 24, 2011. So let's just take Nebius. And just this is exactly what they are doing, like with their token factory offering, right? Like they basically sell you token to access DeepSeek and GLM and all of them, which is
Yeah.
way cheaper than paying for token for Claude or for OpenAI GPT 5.5.
Well, it
Way
has to be
cheaper.
because they're referencing open source models to do it. So
Yep. And they run on NVIDIA. NVIDIA loves them. So NVIDIA has also vested interest into making Nebius very successful, right?
yep.
So I don't know. It looks to me that the world is going into that direction and everybody's going into that direction. So at the end of the day, maybe the guy who are going to make money with AI are the ones in cloud. Like we are going to go back to the same old website business model. That's it. We are just going to sell websites online. That's it. It's exactly the same business model that's proven, that works, and we're just gonna go back to that. We
Yeah, I mean,
token
let's
maxed
be
for
fair. That was the whole point of the conversation we had last night,
yeah,
or 2 nights ago,
yeah,
and that was the whole point of the article that I wrote and published
yeah.
on LinkedIn and on X today.
Yes, and I think there
And
is a path to that. Huh?
sorry, go ahead.
No, there is a path to that. Huh?
Yeah, for sure. And
Mm.
let's move on to Apple because I think that it's actually, in a way, it's a continuation of this conversation.
Okay.
And you'll see why. So Apple is skipping its M6 Pro, not its M6 chip. They're going to come out with M6 chips for like their regular stuff, but their M6 Pro, they're just going to skip to focus on their AI chips. What does this mean? So Apple's reportedly changing the Mac chip roadmap because you know the way this works, Martin. Every year, the M1, the M2, the M3, whatever, the M4, even through to the M5, they would release the M5 chips, then the M5 Pro, then the M5 Pro Maxes, or whatever the names of these chips are. And the key would be that they would have more cores or more processing units, and they would just be faster and more efficient and have better power management.
Yeah.
In the Pro and the M7 Max. I mean, sorry, and the M5 Max. But what is Apple trying to do? They want to have on-device AI, which again is not going to be great news for open. This is why I think it's like a continual. Let's talk about this a little bit more.
It's
So
terrible news.
let's before we get to the terrible news. The point is that like one of the reasons why Apple is accelerating the development, they don't want to call it M6 Pro and M6 Max because those chips, which have already been built and designed 2 years ago, right, didn't have all of the AI stuff built into them or the AI enablement stuff built into them like the M7 chips do. So now they want to make the Pro and the M7 Max their AI chips.
Yeah.
And if they do that, and then they can accomplish their I always want to say on-prem, but on-device AI, what is the impact on OpenAI and Anthropic's revenue in the token space?
Yeah. This is so strong in terms of offering. I love this offering, really. And just think about the general public. Like here they have a chance to take massive market shares to a public that today is not reached by OpenAI and Anthropic in the same way that Apple can do. Like
No.
people may go to ChatGPT to do their things, right? Like I mean regular people, not developers. Okay, like not the developers who are in the tech bubble. Okay, like regular people, the 900 million user of ChatGPT. Okay, let's remove the 1 million guys in the bubble in San Francisco who are far away with agency AI. Okay, so for the 899 million people left, okay, these people are still stuck at the level 1 of AI, which is go to chatgpt.com and ask stuff to ChatGPT, right? And they are not at all at the level of installing OpenClaw, installing Hermes,
They're still using ChatGPT as like an answer engine.
Yes. And they may do writing, they may do research, they may do their homework with ChatGPT, but still like a conversational thing. They are not at the level of agentic AI at all because the barrier to entry to deploy agentic AI is next level, right? Like you get, and then what do you do? Do you like install files on your computer? You buy a domain, you point the domain to your machine. Like it's way too complicated, right? Like for the 999 million people outside of the tech bubble, right? So these people who are not using Cloud, who are not using Cloud, who are not using OpenClaw, who are not using Hermes and all the orchestrator because they don't need it and it just requires way too much knowledge. They may do it with Apple OS harness, right? Like Apple and Microsoft, they have such a huge like like a huge opportunity. I lose my word like because it's so big to actually build an harness that is so simple, so easy to use, and so well integrated into the existing environment that people use, that actually people never need to install Cloud Code, OpenClaw, or Codex, because the Apple OS harness is the best. Is the
Right.
best. Is doing everything they want. It's easy to use. Plus, Apple has a massive advantage of their closed environment, which means they can really build all the integration really fast, I think, and they can force every developer on the App Store to add the, I don't know, 1,000 line of codes with all the MCP or all the API that they need to actually connect to Apple AI, right? So they can do that really fast. They can do something that's so well integrated and works so well and so easy to use, and then boom, deploy that on 2 billion devices. If that happens, Michael, once again, like that's gonna completely kill a massive market share for Cloud Code, Codex, OpenClaw, Hermes, and all of these guys. It's all the other people, the 800 plus million people, and it's strong.
It's super strong. And I'm just checking something
Yeah.
because Apple also has a programming language that's relatively new
Okay.
called Swift.
hmm And so
And
then, like, well, you said.
imagine them using their on-device AI
Mhm, mhm,
to automate the writing of Swift programs, which will then create more apps for the App Store and
mhm.
also more programs for Mac itself.
Exactly.
So now you have this unified memory and neural engine writing programs for the Mac
Plus, they do the hardware.
and for iOS.
They do the hardware, or they do the chips. So they really integrate the entire chain. They have everything. They have distribution. They all they have the biggest brand in the world, actually, who's stronger than
Yep.
Apple as of today. Maybe
No.
McDonald's,
Yeah.
but in the tech world, that's only Apple, I think. And I really see a world where Apple launches subscription tomorrow with free on-device AI and plus $10, $20 per month cloud access,
Just
cloud
ima-
access for like just better and more
just imagine being
performance.
able to do like on-device stuff here.
Exactly. Yeah, because
Just
like all
imagine
the little
being like
query.
do full AI here on device, not sending anything out to the cloud, but just doing it
Yeah.
all on device.
Yep. So I don't think we're gonna be able to do like crazy big thing, but maybe at first, like just like add this meeting to my calendar. Just this type of little thing. I think we don't realize how
Yeah, 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 yeah.
many let's say during one day we do 1,000 tasks. Okay, like we just do 1,000 things.
God, I
Maybe
know.
there's 600 of them that are super straightforward and that Apple AI can help us do on
Yeah,
device with a
I
super
agree.
tiny
Something like
model.
90% of the stuff that I do on my computer should be automated. I should just be able to go, hey, can you
Exactly.
change that to Friday for me?
Exactly, this type of
That's it.
stuff. Like
That's
that's it. Simple, right? Like not hard at all. Super straightforward,
no,
but
no.
that can save ton of time, right? And this is, I think, the opportunity for Apple AI on the on-device stuff at first. It doesn't need to be too strong. It just need to help us with the 900 tasks that we do daily that are very simple. If that works, then they do a cloud offering for the stronger model. So then you don't need to go to cloud or to OpenAI. You can just pay for Apple AI because once again, the integration is amazing. It works so well.
Mhm.
And the path to get there, like the path to access for a client, for a user is going to be so simple. No need to install any app. It's built inside, right? So
Mm.
which means then you have like a $20, 50, 100, 200, whatever you want subscription to access the cloud for the strongest feature. And then over time, you just put more of the strongest feature on device with, just as the world become better, when we have
Yeah,
better chips, when we have
which is
better
it's
models.
always going to get better.
Yeah.
It's not going to get
Yeah.
worse, right? Like
Yeah.
the
Exactly.
worst performance you have on device AI is
Yeah.
right now.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. That's the worst. And maybe in 10 years, we will be able to do 90% of the task on device, where maybe when we launch, we can do maybe only 10% of the task, right? But it's just going to get better and better and better.
Yeah, yeah.
But they are going to build the entire framework to actually let things get better inside of that. But
Mhm.
they will have the acquisition, they will have the offering, they will have the test, they will have like the entire flow. It's going to be so strong. I love that, really. I think it's so strong. And we're going to deploy that on 2 billion devices to people who are not going to install Cloud Code. So
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point, though, right? Is that if you can just simplify some of those 900 things, or what I'll call the 90%
yeah,
of the tasks that you do on a day-to-day basis,
yeah,
people will use it in a way they've never used it before,
exactly.
right? Because even people that are running PCs are not carrying them around with them all day, but everybody is carrying this with them around all day today.
Yes, and then you
Everybody.
connect the phone to the computer. That's one thing that we love, right? Like to have code actually accessible from our phone, where I can then do something on the computer.
Mm.
This is such a cool experience. So then you do the same thing with Apple AI, right? You just connect all the devices together, and you can say, Siri, change my meeting with Michael on Friday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And then boom, you just update it everywhere,
And not even
right?
think about it.
And then you don't
But
even think
but
about it.
but here's the other thing too. We keep saying on device, we keep saying the phone. At least I do.
Mm. But it's
But
also
like your Mac is also a device.
yes, the match,
And that
and they are
and your
really
Mac is
strong.
at least where I do most of my work. I sit here, I do most of my work on my Mac,
Yeah.
right? I've got a laptop as well. So if
Mhm.
I can upgrade those, like if they come out with a Mac Mini that has an M7 chip or an M7 Pro or M7 Max chip in it, you know I'm going to buy it. It's not going to be that expensive.
Mhm.
And then laptop, I mean, I need to give you my existing laptop so you can have all of my laptops. Then I'll just go buy an M7 Pro or an M7 Max.
No, but it's true. I
You
mean,
need more
it's
laptops in your house.
yeah,
Like you
it's true
definitely need
actually.
more.
It's true actually, Michael. I need one. No, but just think about it. Like just think about how this offering can be strong and
Yeah.
completely disrupt the entire market, right? And then they just put whatever model works inside of that, and that's it, right? And it doesn't need to be the frontier model. We're not talking about advanced put in here. We are talking about everybody else who is using the web, who is using Pages, who is using Microsoft Word, right? Like all of
Mm.
this very simple software at the end of the day. So we don't need Opus for that. We maybe need just Gemini, right? Maybe Gemini today is good enough, or maybe in 2 years, Apple will be able to build their own tiny model that works just fine, right?
So
So yeah,
I
no,
would
I
make
think
the
it's
case that Apple's
dangerous.
never, not never, but they're unlikely to build their own model. Remember, they already have an agreement with Google to be able to use and
Yes.
distribute Gemini. But then they went out and cheated on Google, remember, and said, "We're not sure we're going to date everybody that does the model thing."
So no, that was the opposite. They did a deal with OpenAI to put GPT 5 something in Siri, and then they
Go
cheated
ahead.
on OpenAI with Google, and then they made like $1 billion deal with Google, and OpenAI was like, and us, and we were here
Yeah,
from the beginning.
so I thought we were having dinner tonight.
Exactly. And yeah, they just said, yeah, actually, we don't work with Google. Yeah. And actually,
Yeah.
like, there were news that OpenAI was actually thinking of suing Apple for that. So they did not, but we were talking about that.
Just another thing for them to be distracted by.
Yeah,
But again, all these points we're making, Martin, go back to this idea that if they delay their IPO,
this is good point. Yeah, this is
it
good
feels
reminder.
unlikely
Yeah.
that the price is going to be like at the highest
Mm,
price of the the highest price for the OpenAI IPO
mm.
was the day before the
SpaceX.
SpaceX IPO.
Yes, and same for Anthropic, for both of them.
Same. You understand the point that
Yeah.
I'm making,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
as
Yes.
soon as
Yes.
it
Yes.
went
Yes. Yes.
public, the likelihood that these companies, as soon as
Yeah.
SpaceX went public, the likelihood
Yeah.
that OpenAI or that Anthropic were
Mm.
going to get the valuation that they desired, when it's
Yes.
more likely now that it's one, zero than it is one. Yeah.
Yes. 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 Way more likely. Way more likely. Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen to OpenAI and Anthropic, to be honest. Really don't know. But I love this idea of the harness directly built inside the OS. It's so good. And Microsoft is going to do the exact same thing, I'm sure. Like I don't see why Microsoft won't do it. It's just the best idea in the world right now.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, and I hope we're gonna build something great, right? And I can't wait to use it, to be honest, because we have Apple devices everywhere. And look, I use my Mac Mini right now as a server, right? Like think about
yeah.
like all the frenzy we were in the last couple of months of people
Mm, mm,
buying Mac Minis because it can run your AI agent 24/7 and just work, right? It doesn't overheat, it doesn't crash, it just works just as a server for weeks, right? And this just shows like how strong the machine is, right? And
yeah.
how good the capabilities are for running AI already, right? And so that's why like tomorrow Apple can just tunnel the whole thing, do a cool offering, build the harness inside the OS, and then it's done. Huh? And then for the 899 million people who use AI every day, it's going to be amazing for them. Absolutely amazing.
It is. And I'm just
Yeah.
looking at the price of a Mac Mini. No, just because I want to understand. Because even if you'd get like the M7, oh God, it just sends me right back to Thailand. Don't do that. But the point is that like if I just want to get a Mac Mini that runs like an M7 Max or an M7 Pro, it's probably going to be $1,200.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Right.
It's so
And
cheap.
it's super cheap. So you can get like a few of them
Mm.
and do all of your artificial intelligence. And if it's optimized to run on device AI,
Yeah.
well, because here's the other thing that we didn't talk about. If you can do it all on device, then you're not sending information out to the internet.
Yeah. Yes.
Which
Yes.
means
Yes,
your
that's a good
ability
point.
then to, because you trust your own machine.
Yeah.
And again, who do you trust more with privacy, Apple or Google? Like I love all the stuff that Google does, but they're not optimized for privacy.
That's a good point.
Some of their products are way better than Apple products, right?
Yes.
But Apple is optimized for privacy as well. So you put those two things together, and like, who would you rather give your data to, particularly if it's on device? But the other point I will make, Martin, is I do believe that because Windows itself is also moving. Like if you look at the Windows Surface machines, those are also ARM processors, yeah.
Yes.
Which means that if the ARM processors catch up, because Apple's just like an M7, is M7 Pro or M7 Max, they're just ARM processors, right? That Apple customizes for themselves. So it means that the ability for ARM itself then to create chips that can run artificial intelligence on device is there. We know it's there because Apple's already doing it.
Yes.
Well, they will already be doing it. So that means that Microsoft, again, for its Surfaces, for its Microsoft Surfaces, and frankly, for their other PCs as well, since we know that Windows already runs on ARM, then that stuff can also run on device too. So now it's not just Apple, it's the potential for Microsoft
Everybody. Yeah.
to run on device. And then what does that do to the big model companies?
Exactly. And this is this idea of being good enough, right? Like if
Yeah.
once again you take your 1,000 tasks that you do every day on your machines with an S, including the phone and the laptop, the PC and everything. If the AI built in run a little model on device that can help you do 500 of them, because that's very simple stuff, they win, right? And that's gonna be 500 tomorrow, and then 700 in 6 months, and then 800 in 2 years, and 950 in 3 years, right? Like the directionality is going to be towards bigger model, stronger model on device. This is like step one, and then it's just going to get better and better and better because the hardware will get cheaper and the model will get more efficient as well. So the version we're gonna get when the M7 goes out in the market, if it's already good enough, it's going to be super strong. And also, Michael, this data privacy thing that you say is true for the consumer. I think people care about that, and that's probably one of the key selling point of Apple. But the enterprises care about that even more. So if you're an enterprise and tomorrow you can use Apple devices, or maybe you already use Apple devices for your company, and now you can do, I don't know, once again, 20% maybe at first of all your AI work on device, it changes the game because 20% of 1,000 employee who are, I don't know, spending $1,000 per month in API cost, now you are talking about a real saving, right? And you just need to buy a $700 machine. I mean, you just buy it tomorrow for all your employee, right? So now we are talking like really big save in spending. And once again, if it start at 20% that you can do on device year one, maybe 25 year two, 35 year three, 50 and so on, right? So it's just going to be, once again, just a way for us as a client to access AI for much cheaper, right? Like we are going to spend less on AI. We are going to, or maybe to spend the same, but we are going to be able to use it much more.
Right.
And at the end of the day,
and more safely.
And more safely as well. And with a lot of different offering. I think like right now for the client, it's great. Now I'm fully confident that we are never going to pay thousands of dollars per month for AI. Now I'm like,
now you feel better.
But I think, Michael, 2 months ago, it was a real concern. I think 2 months ago, before
I know you're really concerned.
I was really concerned.
You aged like 10 years in the last 2 months.
Yeah, because I'm also the CFO of the Government Media.
I know.
And unfortunately, undercover media, as large as it is, cannot afford to token max for too long. Maybe we can afford to token max for like 2 minutes. I think that's the
I was gonna say,
maximum we can do.
I was gonna say,
And then the CFO
even
screaming.
with the massive global budget for undercover media,
Exactly.
we don't want to
I,
token max for more than like 2 minutes.
I think 2 minutes is pretty much the most that we
I
can do.
think that's the limit.
So that's why, like, if the world were going toward that direction, right? If I were seeing more and more people saying, okay, we're gonna sell tokens to be great, I would be super concerned. I would be like, oh no, like, how are we gonna do that? Because now, as of today, I'm not scared to say, but we are completely dependent on AI. Our entire business is dependent on AI. If tomorrow you say over AI
I bet
you use cost now 5,000 USD, we are per month, it is a massive increase in cost, and this would be like a big problem for us, right? So
I bet we've implemented more AI than most big companies,
yeah, it's
but not in a funny way, in a way that's
no,
like
yeah,
very targeted, very efficient,
yes.
and done for like the right reasons. Do you know what I
Like
mean?
the ROI that we are getting from AI is absolutely massive,
It's
right?
massive. It's
Like
parabolic. It's parabolically massive. Yeah.
it's parabolic, and it's just the beginning because we have like new stuff coming out like every day, right? Like just the CTO is a genius, my God, he shifts like crazy, and so and so there's like a lot of new stuff that are
He's a
coming, and
protege. He's like the Mozart of
exactly.
AI.
Oh yeah, the Messi of AI, like everything
I wouldn't say mess. Let's not go so
together.
far as messy.
Together in just one person. Everybody combined, my God, in just one person. But I would say
And
like
just like Jesus, he's very misunderstood.
no, he's not misunderstood. That guy is really well understood. His accent sometimes a bit hard to understand. That's maybe the only thing.
I think I might need some oxygen over here. I can barely breathe. I'm laughing so hard.
But I'm very happy that as a client, we are going toward the direction of cheap AI, right? Because
Martin,
once again,
just give me one. I have to take this call. Give me 1 second. It's the Nobel Prize Committee.
oh yeah,
Hello.
nah,
You want to
we
nominate the CTO of Undercover Media for the Nobel Prize for AI, the new prize. Okay, just one. Okay, I'll get back to you. Yeah, sorry about that, Martin. Sorry to interrupt the
I
conversation.
think the CTO is not gonna take it. It would be too nice to them, too much advertising to them, like I don't think. But we can ask. We can ask. We can ask. But anyway, go back to Solution. I really just like that it's going into that direction from a
Mm,
client point of view, right? Like from a client point of view, I'm much more confident that we are not going to have to pay thousands of dollars monthly to actually use AI, right? And this is good news because if we were using the API right now through Claude, we would pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and instead of that, we just pay for the monthly subscription because they subsidize. And thankfully, we go towards that direction, so that's better
So
for us.
again, let's get back to the segment that we were talking about at the beginning of the show, and that is what is the impact on all this stuff that we were just talking about? This is one of the reasons why I want to talk about it in the context of the IPO for OpenAI and for Anthropic, and that is because if all of this stuff comes to fruition, and if those guys are really only making their money off of, sending FTEs out to convince people to use their models, they're in deep trouble.
They're in massive trouble, because I don't see any client today except the uninformed who are like, okay, we are going to implement a massive AI infrastructure into our company and we are going to pay the API cost. I don't see anyone saying, okay,
No,
that's a great
no,
idea.
no.
Like, I don't, because I think right now, if you're an enterprise, you have 1,000 employees, let's say, and you have an FD that comes into your company. And if I were into this position as of now, and we didn't install any AI yet, or maybe that we've done a few things here and there, okay, but like
Mm,
not at the scale that's possible with agentic AI, okay, like we want to learn, we want to get agentic AI deployed into our company.
yeah.
I would say let's just wait a little bit, right? Let's just wait a little bit because the cost do not go down like crazy. I mean, there is a world where GPT 5.5 open source in less than 6 months,
Yeah.
and we have a $100 plan on Google Cloud to just give access to all of our employees, right? Something like that. There is
So
a strong possibility of this. So
the other thing to consider, Martin, and this is a little bit more of a complicated thing, but I think the other thing to consider is that how is software currently dispersed into a large organization. In the old days, a guy in IT would make a decision about what type of software to buy,
Mhm.
right? He would get approval from the board or whatever, and then that would just get installed on everybody's PC, literally across the world, but at least across like one location.
Yeah.
And then everybody would just take it and use it. And it would be super rare for some employee to come in and go, we should be using this thing instead of that thing, and have IT agree, because
Mhm.
most people didn't have that technical knowledge. But today, everybody, and I'm just going to use Apple as an example, whether you have a Mac Mini or a MacBook Pro or an iPad or an iPhone or whatever else you have, you're interacting with technology in a way today, no matter what age you are, that you've never interacted with tech
Yeah.
before. And imagine a situation where somebody goes into work and says, hey dude, on my iPad or on my Surface, let me show you, because I can't show you something that's not installed on a company issued machine, but on my personal machine, I downloaded DeepSeek.
Mhm. Mhm.
And if you look side by side, right, or Quen or Kimi or
Mhm.
whatever the open source model is, and you look side by side and you go, here's the code that they wrote, and here's the code that Opus wrote, and this one cost me 1/10 of what this one cost. Shouldn't we be using this instead?
Mhm.
Then you can
Mhm.
see the IT team going, yeah, because our job now is to be as efficient as possible at the lowest possible cost. And we
Yeah.
don't necessarily know everything anymore, but we implement the stuff, right? Because the guy at a trading desk, I'm just thinking about it from my own experience, is not
Yeah.
going to be installing software for the whole firm, but
Mhm.
he could be changing the mind of the guy in IT. And again, if
Mhm.
that happens,
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
happens
Mhm.
to these IPOs?
And so that's why like a business model like Red Hat, right? Just like services that like helping enterprises understand
Exactly.
what's going on in AI and implement the best solution. So somebody who's neutral towards the model providers, right? Is in such a strong position right now, right? That if you
Mm.
can go to an enterprise and help them solve the problem of governance, of data, and also implement a solution that's cost effective with like the best model out there, and then tell them like, look guys, everything is gonna change often, right? So let's be flexible and let's be open to the suggestion of the team as well, because we need more use cases, because AI is very new. Somebody who can sell this offering to a large enterprise, I mean, this is massive growth, right? That it's absolutely insane if you can do that right now. And then you're gonna be able to adapt to all the changes that we talked about, right? Because you prepare everything, you know things are going to change,
Mhm.
and you help your client navigate all the changes that are going to be scary and annoying. But if you have
Exactly.
somebody who think about it and who plan for it and really like, you know, carefully go through the transition, is going to be completely fine. And as a client, you're gonna get a huge advantage. And all of that, but what I say is without OpenAI and Anthropic, basically, right? It's with the market for LLM, with everyone, right? Which is all the open source ones. And this doesn't include OpenAI and Anthropic, right? So they may be left out, right? They may be left out.
Right. So, and what was the valuation of DeepSeek? Remember, they raised $7 billion, and their valuation was somewhere between 50 and $59 billion, which
Yeah,
just feels so much more reasonable than
exactly.
965 or $1 trillion.
Exactly. And plus also like, is it DeepSeek that really didn't want to raise any money and they had to? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I think that just like the full story of DeepSeek is actually super interesting. Like it's a hedge fund who started DeepSeek, they funded themselves, and they
Mm.
were like, we don't want to raise any money. We have the money. We are rich enough, basically, to just fund this thing.
Essentially.
They launched DeepSeek V1, but can you search for the age that date, Michael? Because that's actually very important. When they launched DeepSeek V1 and they wiped out like $1 trillion of market value in the US, because they said we built this thing for just $10 million, and it was pretty much as good as ChatGPT that had spent like billions and billions to actually
I think it
get
was
there.
January 2024.
Okay, January 2024. It was two
Yep.
years and a half now. And and then they were like, okay, they just keep building DeepSeek. They launched this model that they built by themselves, funded by themselves. And then remember, Michael, we talked about that maybe in March. They were like,
Mm.
now we have to raise money because we struggle to hire people and to keep our employee, because no one knows what's the value of the stock that we issue.
Yeah, we did a
Like,
whole segment on
yeah,
this, right? People are here and
exactly.
they're like, am I a
You
billionaire? Am I still
exactly.
poor? Like, I have no idea where I stand. We have to
You,
price this thing so
yeah.
we can know like where we stand.
Exactly. We have to have an external approval of the value of a company. So then the 0.1% share that I give to my new CTO, he has an idea of like what's the price. Because up until now, it's just the owner who say, yeah, we value 10 billion, right?
Right.
But is there anybody who agree on that? Basically, no, absolutely no, nobody. It's just the founder of DeepSeek who basically choose the price. And they say that they really wanted to raise money just for that reason, just to have like some sort of public acknowledgement that the company is worth that price. And so then they can keep hiring and keep offering really aggressive packages, basically, which
Hmm.
I think is very interesting, right? And as you say, it's much more reasonable to raise at a $50 billion valuation with money that you may not need. And yeah, that's what OpenAI and Anthropic could have done if they were less greedy.
Exactly. So, Martin, I recommend we do this.
Mhm.
The last topic we were going to talk about, Patronus AI, I think we save. And the reason
Yep,
why, because it doesn't fit into this narrative. And we basically spent this entire show going back and forth between these things that are impacting the IPO for Anthropic and for
yeah,
OpenAI.
it's
And I
true.
think Apple fit into that thing. I want to keep Patronus because I do think it's really interesting, but I don't think it fits into this narrative. And I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like jump to a completely different topic because it's not cohesive. Does that make sense?
Yep, sure. Sure. Because yeah, it's true that
Okay.
now that all the story actually fit pretty nicely
It
about
all
AI
weaves
development.
very nicely together. And I kind of want to leave it as one cohesive thing.
Perfect.
Okay.
If anyone has any question on the chat, let us know. We are happy to take any question about the future of models, the future of how we use AI ourselves. And yeah, like what you think as well on your side about OpenAI and Anthropic IPOing, maybe, and at what
Yeah,
price?
and feel free to gather your thoughts and leave the comments on the video if that's the place you
Exactly.
want to do it. And again, thank you to everybody. That's going to be all for today for AGTP Daily. Thank you again for joining us. We've had a bunch of people like watching us live. That's awesome. We love to have that. Give us a thumbs up on today's video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We love when we have new subscribers, and follow us on all of our socials on X, on Instagram, and LinkedIn. And as Martin was saying, if you have any questions at all, feel free to ask us on any of those platforms. We're pretty aggressive at like looking at them and trying to get back and answering those questions. We will not be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. because today is Friday, but we will be back on Monday at 11 a.m. and then every day, every weekday.
Mhm.
It looks like some people like took 4 days off this week.
An entire week off.
They're supposed to be back on the 26th, according to something that but I mean, how do you know? You know what I mean? Consistency matters, Martin.
Mhm.
It matters.
But also, like, if for the people who are watching us, like, if you don't agree with us, or if you have another point of view, maybe some
Oh,
other
give me the
data,
contrarian
right?
view for sure. Love
Yeah,
it.
like if you have another use case in your company, if you implement AI another way, we'd love to know, right? And that's also why we build this show as well, to actually be able to talk to people who actually use AI themselves. And that's how we can see what's going on in the markets, right? So, okay, we have a lot of guests on our podcast, but I would say we never have enough information, right? So if you see something different, if you use AI differently, if you have a different use case, or if you believe into something different, really feel free to just put that in the comments, and we would be super happy to learn from you, first of all, and to also discuss this with you. It's super
Yeah,
interesting.
and Martin, look, I think you and I both believe really strongly that the show is really just a platform for a broader conversation,
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yep. Yeah,
right?
that's what we do with all of our guests.
It's meant to get people to think about like, what do I think about this topic that Michael and Martin were talking about? What do I think
Yeah,
about what that
exactly.
guest was saying? What do I think about what the combination of all these things are that I'm hearing? Let me think about it.
Yeah.
Oh, and I want to ask a question to Martin about this thing on the technical side, or Michael on the business. Like, come back and ask us this stuff. The whole point of the show
Yeah.
is to build that platform and that community where we can all learn about the things that we don't necessarily know about yet, that are
Yeah.
going to be important going forward. Yeah.
That's a very good point. I really like that, Michael. That's a great wording about the show. And I would say also, like, don't feel like you have to agree with us, right? Like
No.
sometimes we don't even agree with each other with Michael, and that's okay, right? Like we can have
Mm.
different opinions and different view, and that's what make an open conversation beautiful, right? Like as long as people are respectful, of course. But if you see something else, if you have another point of view, I mean, put that in the chat, put that in the comments. Once again, we'd love to learn from you, first of all. Like try to say why. That's always the interesting thing. Like why do you think something different may happen? And yeah, and then we may change our mind, or we may say, okay, let's just see in the next couple of months, right? Who's gonna be right?
Exactly. And if you're watching the show,
Mhm.
tell a friend.
Tell a friend.
They'll want to
Super.
watch it too.
Mhm.
Your friend group definitely wants to watch along with you. They want to ask us questions. They want to learn more. We love the interaction. My name is
Yep.
Michael. Who are you?
Martin Montfort. Thank you everyone for coming.
I'm going to say bye for now.
See you on